Hello, I'm Anne Riddell, and this is Science and You. If you haven't had the flu yourself, chances are someone you know has. This flu season has been one of the worst on record, widespread, and in some cases deadly. Here with us to tell us more is Dr. Max Gomez. Max, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. Hi, Caroline.
Can you put this in perspective for me? How bad is it? How bad is this season?
It's bad, but when you say one of the worst on record, we need to make it clear that on record really only goes back to 2004. That's when the CDC really started keeping track of the numbers the same way we're keeping track of. So these on record doesn't go back to, like the 1900s or something like that. So it's a bad flu season, but it's not off the charts bad at this point.
We don't know what is to come because this can go on still for some time. Yeah,
usually it'll start tapering off a little bit in March and April, but it can have a pretty long tail well into May sometimes. So we don't know what it's going to do at this point or what the numbers will actually be. But don't forget, in any given season, any given flu season, we may see anywhere from 20 to 30 to sometimes up to 50,000 deaths in this country just from the flu.
I just find that remarkable, Max. I mean, I guess in some cases we're not paying enough attention to how serious this is. I mean, guilty as charged. I sort of think of it as like, you got to stay home and stay in bed, but clearly more.
It can be a very serious disease. You get a pneumonia. You can have your own immune system, by the way, sometimes can so overreact to an infection of influenza that you get your lungs fill up with fluid. It's called ARDS, adult respiratory distress syndrome. You can't breathe. You can't exchange oxygen because there's too much fluid in your lungs. The infection can actually break loose from your lungs, turn into sepsis, system-wide infection. All of these things are potentially lethal. The very old and the very young tend to be the most at risk. The strain that's going around right now, the H3N2, is the one that's really causing a lot of problems right now, tends to hit the younger people for some reason.
And that is something we've heard about, is these, these deaths in children.
It's always a tragedy, of course. Now, I want to put a couple of things into perspective.
Good.
The worst one, the worst recent one that we had was a 2014-2015 season. 127, 28, I believe it was, kids died of influenza in that season. Now we're in the 60s. Right now, those numbers keep going up, and they will go up some because we're nowhere near the end of the season. It's a tragedy. But when the the CDC did a study, they went back and looked at those pediatric deaths. 80% of them were unvaccinated kids.
Oh my gosh.
80%. So that's the real tragedy, is you gotta vaccinate your children.
I want to follow up on that, Max, but first, going back to this other issue, as we were talking about, taking this seriously, how do we know if the symptoms are something we can manage at home or whether this is an emergency, get to the hospital? There
are a few things to look for, particularly in kids, because that's one of the other things that we're really looking at. If you get dehydrated, that's a big thing. If the kid stops urinating, the urine gets very, very dark, that sort of a thing. If it's a baby, they stop producing wet diapers, that's a sign. If the fever gets very, very high and won't come down with Tylenol or ibuprofen, Advil, then you need to worry about it. The biggest thing also, though, if a child or you start having trouble breathing, you just can't breathe, the child starts to look a little bluish almost, that's an emergency, and you don't say, well, let me see, I'll take them to the pediatrician tomorrow or maybe the next day because I'm busy tomorrow. No, hospital.
Okay, good
advice. Right away.
Really
because
good advice.
Once you get to that point, it can move very, very quickly.
So let's go back to the vaccine.
Okay.
People are sometimes resistant. They think somehow they're going to get sick or they don't bother with it. Tell us.
You cannot get the flu from the flu vaccine.
Okay.
It's made with a dead virus. Number one, you can get feel a little funny or have an achy arm or whatever, get a little bit of malaise as your system starts to react to the vaccine, especially if you haven't had one in a while. But you're not going to get the flu from the vaccine. And remember, the flu vaccine won't protect you against getting a bad cold. So you can still get a bad cold and feel crummy, but it's not the flu and it's not going to kill you. So that's the one thing. It's we've heard a lot of things about the numbers of how effective the flu vaccine is each year. The numbers going around are this year, it's about average, actually. It's maybe a little bit lower than the average of the last 15 years that the CDC has been keeping track of these numbers. So it's not really out of control. No vaccine is 100% effective, number one. If you do get the flu, even though you got the flu vaccine, it's very likely that it's going to be a milder case and probably not life-threatening.
Okay, that's a good point.
So there's almost no downside to getting it. And it might save your life. I just don't get why people don't do it.
And just
only about, by the way, only about across the country, only about 50% of the eligible people for a flu vaccine actually get vaccinated each year.
That's surprising to me.
That's the numbers.
So just a last thing, Max, and you know, we hear this all the time, but bears repeating, what can we do just sort of on a day-to-day basis to help us stay healthy?
Well, wash your hands early and often. That's the number one way that things get transferred.
Believe it.
You know, you don't know if somebody has just sneezed in their hands or coughed or whatever. They shake your hands. The other thing is, studies have shown that we unconsciously, you and me, everybody, touch their hands to their face as much as 15 times an hour.
Yes, I've heard that.
That's the number one way. You know, you start rubbing your eyes, you rub your nose, you know, you pick something out of your
You're not even aware you're doing it.
Never aware that you're doing it. I know I do it all the time. So that's how it gets transferred. So Purell alcohol-based hand sanitizers.
I'm going to do it right after we leave here.
Like that.
All right, Max, it is so great to have you, as always. I mean, we are just so lucky to have your expertise. And I think we got you back again later in the show because you're going to be doing something on brain training and the possible connection to dementia.
That's pretty exciting stuff. It looks, you know, people always were a little skeptical of it, but it looks like it might actually have some benefit. And look, you know, as we say, it couldn't wait.
That's right. All right, Max, thanks so much.
You bet.
It's time for our question of the month. How many hearts does an octopus have? 1, 2, 3, or 4? And the answer to that is 3. What's real and what isn't? Many scientists think virtual reality and augmented reality are the wave of the future, and that future could bring with it jobs some of us can't even imagine. So who will be trained and ready for the work needed to make that technology usable for the rest of us? Donna Hanover has some answers.
Discuss the arrow bobs up and down along with the user ID.
Vincent Navarro does biomedical research on drugs to fight prostate cancer. But for the last year, he has also been a student in the Virtual Reality Training Academy at the Lehman College School of Continuing and Professional Studies in the Bronx. With a small group of others, he's finishing an intensive course where they've learned how to create virtual and augmented reality applications. This one is for teaching refinery workers how to deal with benzene exposure.
Benzene is very hazardous, it's cancerous, so teaching them essentially how to react to these situations is very important.
Virtual reality is better than a teaching film because people can be immersed in the environment, seeing it all around them, use the hand controllers to interact, and get feedback immediately on whether their reactions are correct. Lehman Vice President Ron Berkman says the VR Training Academy is a partnership with global company EON Reality.
We're really excited to train students in this growing industry because we know that's where the jobs are going to be. EON is a fabulous partner. They have a well-defined curriculum. They have provided us with trainers, and they have a variety of centers like this around the world. This is the first in the Northeast.
EON even guarantees jobs to at least 3 graduates. Sometimes the students work with VR headsets, and sometimes with the iCube, which trainer James Canada demonstrated to me.
These are the tracker devices?
They are. So if you kind of walk around, you can kind of walk up close to the neuron there. You can kind of get underneath and look around it.
Oh my goodness.
So you notice that when she moves her head around, the image on the screen actually changes.
But it looks like it's right here.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And the controller allows you to interact with the simulation, pulling apart the neuron for a closer look.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the students here are creating these kinds of simulations?
They are.
Jane McKillop, interim dean of the School of Continuing and Professional Studies, says most of the students are doing the training on top of their regular jobs. And though it's low cost at less than $600, it's intense.
It's really rigorous. It's 11 months, 23 hours a week, 5 nights a week, all day Saturday.
Most of the students are not computer experts, but instead visually creative people with an interest in technology.
Sky, we still need to work on the sky.
Yeah, I looked into that issue, and the sky is actually made up of 2 separate texture files. So it would take a little bit more work to make them cohesive.
Michael Brenner, a lawyer who has also studied at the Fashion Institute of Technology, sees a fantastic future with VR.
This is design on steroids. You name the industry. If you're talking about real estate, you can envision a home before it's been built, before the interior's been placed in there. If you're envisioning something for the military, you can do drills. And to have people put in these situations, you can now communicate so much more to them with a virtual environment. And you will see it gradually seep into your daily life just the way you've seen smartphones.
Building a simulation is complex. They need to create the 3D models and animations, which are called assets, and then program for the interactions. Tina Cheng, who previously worked in publishing, says her 9-year-old son Skylar is especially proud of her studies. She says the work is collaborative.
The personality types that are drawn to virtual reality and augmented reality are really swell people.
Are they particularly creative?
They're creative, they're technically savvy, they're interested in doing something new. So that's really fun for me.
Some students are looking for new careers. Others see it helping their current work.
I saw the potential of it for use in the lab, in my setting. Okay, so I do biomedical research. All that I do every day is look through a microscope, look at these cells, take pictures of them. But when I take a look at them on the screen, I'm seeing them on a flat 2-dimensional screen. By putting on a headset, it changes my perspective. All of a sudden now I'm looking at it as it exists in, your body or in a tissue culture flask. It will catapult, our research.
Some people think augmented reality will be even more significant than virtual reality.
Virtual reality is one that literally just eliminates the world at large. So you put on this headset, this head-mounted display, the world just disappears and a new world appears before you. Augmented reality doesn't block your existing world. It's really an additional layer of information that's superimposed on the world.
Lehman College is recruiting now for the next VR Training Academy class. You can find out more at their website, lehman.cuny.edu/VR. Dean McKillop says the students don't seem to mind the hard work.
What do you think inspires them?
Oh, I think this speaks to their passions. I think it just engages their imagination and their hearts.
So the training here in creating virtual and augmented reality is making sure that people have command of the technology to fill the jobs of the future. And if there's a little fun to be had along the way, that's okay too. I'm Donna Hanover for Science and You. Oh, yeah.
Puberty is a confusing time for kids and parents alike. There's a lot of information kids need about their changing bodies, but sometimes even the best parent is unsure of how to communicate that. Workman Publishing has come up with a solution that tackles this complicated topic through the time-honored ritual of Girl Talk. Beth Kovetz has more.
Girl Talk is how we pass on important scientific information from women to girls. But it's not always easy, and there's so much a young girl needs to know about her changing body. Workman Publishing has recently come out with a comprehensive notebook on female adolescents called Bunk 9's Guide to Growing Up. I'm here with Dr. Karen Soren, Professor of Pediatrics and Director of Adolescent Medicine at Columbia University Medical Center, and Adah Nuchi, author of Bunk 9's Guide to Growing Up. Dr. Soren, how important is it that young women understand their changing bodies?
The paramount question for young adolescents and preteens is, am I normal? And it's really hard for them to understand, particularly because everybody develops at different rates.
Why puberty begins when it does is not universally understood. One theory suggests that leptin, a hormone produced by fat cells in the body, may be the cause, as research studies have shown that young animals' deficit in leptin will not undergo puberty, and concentrations of leptin in humans is known to increase just before puberty in both boys and girls. All this scientific information is great, but for kids these days, how they access information matters a lot. On the cover of your book, it says here that this story was told to you by the counselors of Camp Silvermoon. Who are the characters in this book, and why are they sharing this information?
Camp Silvermoon is loosely based on the summer camp that I attended, and then the girls of Bunk 9 are counselors in training, or CITs. They're 16, and they decide that they're going to leave a notebook full of information and advice for the 12-year-olds who are going to be living in the bunk the next summer. So they're kind of those older, cooler girls who are there to tell you what they've already been through. What I tried to do in writing this book was get a really wide variety of experiences. So I have girls who went through puberty at 8 and girls who went through puberty at 14, and girls from all different backgrounds and with different body types and with different experiences and interests, so that readers can hopefully connect to one of the girls or several of the girls and feel like their experience is being represented.
While girls and boys may be fixated on the pimples and other physical changes to their bodies, in Bunk 9's notebook, the characters also give some good scientific information like hormones are the cause of all these physical changes, and those pores at the center of your acne woes are actually the tiny holes in your skin that allow for the release of sweat and oil. In today's culture, how important is that kind of peer-to-peer communication for kids?
It's very important. The problem is a lot of the information transmitted is not correct. So it's so good to have this kind of Bible of correct information, of verified information, because peer-to-peer works in a lot of ways as long as it's legitimate.
Right, the information could go off rails so easily.
The world abounds in myths about puberty. Adults have myths about puberty. A lot of parents have no clue what's really happening. So it's so nice to have this kind of reference book that's presented in a way that is palatable to preteens and teens.
Right, and the design, the notebook design is so
great.
nifty.
Love it.
Well done. This has been Lisa Beth Kovetz for Science and You.
Ask people what they fear most about growing old, and many will say Alzheimer's or dementia. There's no cure, and treatments seem to have little effect, so there's a lot of interest in trying to prevent the mind-robbing disease. That's led to a number of companies devising brain training exercises to slow or maybe prevent Alzheimer's. But do they work, or are they a waste of money? There are different opinions and a lot of research. Dr. Max Gomez has the story.
I did it to be quicker.
Just to stay sharp.
We've all seen commercials for websites like Lumosity, which provide cognitive training in the form of online brain games. The idea is to stave off memory loss, dementia, and even Alzheimer's disease. At least it used to be. In 2016, Lumosity paid $2 million to settle with the Federal Trade Commission, which had charged the company with deceptive advertising. The FTC said there was not enough science to back those claims. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that brain training can't work.
We used to think, and some people still do think, about the brain like a computer, a set of circuits that's hardwired, and you have to kind of live with what you've got. But it's clear the brain isn't like that, that the system is modifiable on the fly. The connections can change, they can grow, they can shrink. It's a very plastic system, even in older adults.
Dr. Peter Davies is a professor of pathology and neuroscience at the Feinstein Institute for Medical Research of Northwell Health. He says increasingly research is beginning to show that there are some benefits to cognitive or brain training.
Any kind of training for the brain is likely to be beneficial, especially to the activity that you're training to do: memory, speed of processing, attention. Yes, there should be benefit. If you can engage the subject sufficiently over a reasonable period of time, several weeks, then you should be able to demonstrate benefit. And it makes perfect sense that if I train your memory for 6 weeks, your memory should be better. How far that will expand is unclear.
In fact, a recent report from the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine said that cognitive training, along with blood pressure control and physical activity, showed modest evidence for preventing cognitive decline and dementia. Another cognitive training website that provided some of the evidence for the Academy's report is called Brain HQ from Posit Science. Its founder says the reason cognitive training works is due to our brain's ability to make new connections or rewire, what scientists call plasticity.
In fact, we now know that of the 40 or so trillion connections between nerve cells in the brain, we know that they're all plastic. That is to say, they're all subject to changing their strengths. The brain, our physical and functional machine that controls us, that defines us operationally, is actually built from trillions of moments of change.
What's not clear is whether your improved performance in a given brain exercise translates into broader cognitive benefits, or how long those benefits might last. And Dr. Davies worries that computer-based exercises isolate you from the one thing known to benefit cognition: social interaction.
What I worry about a little bit with these systems is that they are so insular. You know, we spend, as a society in general, much too much time looking at little screens and not enough time engaged with other people. So I'm a little bit worried about how narrow these games are, these systems are.
Perhaps a better approach is to combine brain stimulation with some physical activity, like dancing. Dr. Davies is studying that approach to cognitive training because it calls for integrating various brain circuits.
When you dance, for example, you're hearing music, you're seeing your partner and the other people, you're moving and you're learning steps and learning the patterns and learning the movements. There's multiple systems activation. The people who are engaged in dancing 2 or 3 times a week have about a 75% lower rate of developing dementia. So about a quarter the rate of developing dementia as people who are not involved in dance classes.
There's a bit of chicken and egg to these questions, though. If you're the kind of person who goes to concerts, has lots of friends, and does crosswords and brain training games, studies show you're at much lower risk for developing Alzheimer's. But is that because you're using your brain a lot, or is it because you were born with a dementia-resistant brain in the first place? Either way, brain training can't hurt and might actually help. Just mix in a little physical activity, preferably with a bunch of friends. For Science and You, I'm Dr. Max Gomez.
We've talked a lot about how awful this flu season is for many people, but did you know your pet can also get a form of the flu? Here to tell us more about that is Dr. Amy Attas. She's a veterinarian with City Pets, a mobile veterinarian organization that makes house calls. Amy, thanks so much for coming in. And this is Olive, we have to say.
Hi, Olive, and thank you so much for having me, because at this time of the year, I get so many questions about dog flu or canine influenza, and there are so many misconceptions out there. I'm really happy to explain to your viewers about this.
Great. Well, let's start with what is dog flu exactly?
So, canine flu is a flu virus, and we all know that people get flu viruses, and their strains of flu virus change every year. Dogs get their own strain of flu. It's a type A flu, similar to what people get, and it's identified by the types of proteins that are on the surface. So dogs have 2 different strains. These are completely different from the human strains of flu. So when we get the flu, we cannot share it with our pets, and when they get the flu, they don't share it with us.
And so can a cat also get the flu, and is that a different kind of flu?
It's a completely different form of flu that cats get, and this is a little bit scary because there is some evidence that cat flu can be contagious to people.
Really?
However, the only instance where that happened was when a large colony of shelter cats got their feline flu, and one person who worked in that facility came down with respiratory signs. So this is not something that people should be worried about.
So let's talk about what the symptoms look like in our pets. What should we be looking for?
So the symptoms in pets look a lot like the symptoms in people. dogs get a respiratory virus. They start to get runny eyes, they get runny noses, they sneeze and they cough. And just
Sounds familiar.
Yes, it's the same thing as in people, and just like in people, the treatment is supportive care. You want to make sure they're eating, you want to make sure they're resting, and just like in people, you don't send your dog out to visit with other dogs.
That's a really good point,
flu.
and people might not think of that.
It's highly, highly contagious. So if your dog is showing any of those symptoms, the first thing you want to do is bring him or her to the veterinarian, and you want to keep them away from all other dogs. And when you go to the veterinarian, let them know that your dog has these symptoms, because they're going to run you right into the examination room and keep you away from all of the other dogs.
Yes.
So when there are cases of canine influenza around New York, because I have a house call practice, we become very busy.
I bet you do.
Because people don't want their
bring their
pets
dog
into the veterinary office.
So what can we do, if anything, to prevent our dogs from getting the flu?
That's a great question. So I think you need to think about what kind of lifestyle your dog has. If your dog goes to doggy daycare, goes to a grooming parlor, goes to a dog run, any place where they have exposure to lots of other dogs, I think it's a good idea to have your dog vaccinated against canine flu. If your dog stays at home and doesn't like other dogs, or you take them on a solitary walk, then your dog doesn't need to be vaccinated against canine flu. Just because there's a vaccine available doesn't mean every dog needs to have it. And if you're not sure, this is a question you should have with your veterinarian.
You were telling me before that this is a relatively new thing.
It is.
I've just got to stop for 1 minute and say I love how Olive's got a complete mind of his own. He's just doing his own thing.
It looks like he's having a good time.
He's turned his back on the camera. That's that. Okay. I'm sorry, so go ahead.
This virus was first identified in 2004. And
so really pretty recently.
Very, very recent, and that's why it's so significant, because no dogs had antibodies. They had never been exposed to it. So almost every dog who was exposed to canine influenza got sick from canine influenza. That doesn't mean they got deathly ill. They got a respiratory infection. Only a very small percentage got very sick from this disease. And some dogs have died from the disease. Again, it's like human influenza. If your immune system is compromised, this kind of virus can make you very sick.
Right, so there will be some dogs that would be more vulnerable than others.
But I can't stress enough, if your dog has respiratory signs, it's really important to contact the veterinarian, because sometimes what looks like a mild respiratory infection to you can be something more serious, and sometimes we intervene with medication.
Just like we would do with our kids?
Exactly right.
Dr. Amy Attas, thank you so much for coming in. Such helpful information. And you, my friend, are a rock star. Can we try to high five?
Hey, Olive. High five. Yay! Good boy.
That was perfect. And that is our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Anne Riddell. We will see you next time on Science and You.